Hello and welcome to this inaugural edition of Engineer Managers. To manage the madness of this open world, we need managers in all walks of life. Today we have with us Mr. Rajul Garg, an alumnus of the prestigious IIT Delhi, who has been championing and advocating the cause of management education amongst engineers. Mr. Garg rose to fame when he sold his Global Logic for $420 million last year. He has been a serial entrepreneur right from his graduation by establishing Pine Labs. He is on board of many of the technological companies and is associated closely with NESCOM, CII, FICCI and other eminent bodies. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, having such a long exposure in the corporate field, what has driven you to advocate for this cause of engineer managers?
So I think I grew up the ranks managing a lot of engineers. My previous company, Global Logic, we had almost 8,000 engineers globally, out of which we had 2,000 right here in Noida. And what I consistently saw, that engineers, for them to be able to do very well at their jobs, it helps if they have some business skills. In the current world, which is a knowledge economy, every engineer is expected to be a customer ambassador. They need to know more about what their company does, how it is organized. And I consistently saw that engineers who have this knowledge perform even better at their engineering tasks, forget managerial roles. So that's what inspired me to really start something for engineers, for technology people, because that's the word that I come from, so that they can be better at their jobs and they also excel at management, as I've seen consistently.
So you yourself did not go to any B school. How is it all about that you are so fascinated about training the engineers into the management space?
Maybe that is why. Because I never went to business school, but I was really fortunate to be a part of the company that I founded, which grew really fast. I mean, the company grew to literally 1,000 crores in revenue over 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I saw this growth from inside. I was part of this growth. We were hiring people, we were putting them to work. And I saw how much better we can be if people only understood a little bit more about business. And I think I was lucky to have some great mentors earlier on. But when I looked around, there were no such programs which could help engineers learn more about business.
So hands-on learning, you are probably trying to push through this entire initiative.
That's exactly right. I think if you see, there is a big problem today, right? On one hand, industry is more and more of a knowledge economy, mm-hmm. So everybody is expected to know more about business. On the other hand, MBA as a product is constantly under scrutiny, right? Whereas MBA is supposed to deliver this. So I think the whole product needs to be reimagined. It needs to be very experiential. It needs to be very hands-on, the way I learned it. I have to take inspiration from that. So it's only when you do things, then you retain things, you learn them, versus when you listen to them in a class, especially for management studies, which is so experiential and so practical in nature.
You talk about reimagining the entire management education. What all do you find wrong with the current management education paradigms?
I think fundamentally it's still a very theory oriented paradigm. If you go to a normal management school, it's not very different from a K-12 school, right? If you go to a class 8th student and if you go to a first year MBA student, they are being taught very similarly. Mm-hmm. In a class they would be told about theory, they would be asked to take certain tests. But if you go to real companies where they're supposed to perform management functions, there are no classes, there are no tests. There are things that they got to do, they got to make things happen, they got to drive the business, grow it, interact with customers. So I think MBA has to break away and actually in some ways go back to its roots, which were very vocational in nature, which was very sort of experiential, vocational, top-down, problem-based, and I think that's what we are trying to do. I think that's the main thing which is wrong with it.
You seem to be adapting a problem-solving learning approach. Probably that is what engineers are meant to. Would you like to throw more light on that?
I think problem-based learning to me is really the crux of our philosophy, and I think around that everything revolves. It's basically, so let me say that, let's say I want to teach you about marketing. Mm-hmm. So one way I can teach you about marketing is tell you about theories of marketing, about 4 Ps and about all that stuff, which is all useful. The other day I can teach you about marketing is let's say, okay, why don't you design a new phone for the Indian market and market it, figure out a target audience, go and market it, spend 15 days and see a little bit of a success. And by the way, when you do that, I will tell you that, by the way, you use the 4 Ps and this is how you used it, and you will probably retain that much more with you because it's experiential, it's top down, you can relate to it. So context is the big problem. And without context, when you learn things, they just get lost. But when you learn them with context, then they stay with you. I think that's the main.
So is it something like an extension of the 4-year engineering program which you are somewhere trying to push in these managerial skills, solving a real life problem?
I think engineering schools are pretty much still focused very much on engineering. I think, engineering education, you're right, is problem focused in the sense like when I did computer science engineering, our professors told us to write programs, and never focused on syntax or languages and stuff like that. So in that way, it's an extension, but still the big difference between engineering and management is that engineering has right and wrong answers, right? It's very binary. 2 plus 2 is always 4. In management, 2 plus 2 can be whatever you want it to be, right? So it depends on where the opportunity is and how you capitalize on it. So in that way, it differs a lot. It's softer, there's more full of opportunities, and it lets your creativity flow if you let it flow.
So how does it make engineers more apt for a management education?
What I've seen consistently is that, look, I think there's this whole left brain, right brain argument, right? So left brain people are more analytical, which is generally engineers, and right brain are more creative. What I've seen is that there's some aspects of management which are today very, very rational. It's become very data centric. Decision making is not on a whim. Marketing spends are monitored at length to the, nearest percentage point and stuff like that. And I've seen engineers really excel at that. I think they have a rational mind. I think many of them actually also are right-brained as well and more central brain and are able to add creativity. Not all of them. So I think if you can pick in my experience, what I've seen, and I'm an engineer myself and maybe I have a bias here, what I've seen is some engineers make outstanding managers. If you look at the top management institutes of the world, their intake is a lot of engineers for the same reason. Also in our country, I think students are skewed towards engineering. A lot of great students go to engineering by default, so that may be another factor. But I think it's more driven by experience. I've seen some engineers, and not that some non-engineers make great managers as well, but I think engineers have the potential, if you find the right ones and mentor them right, they have the potential to be great managers.
So would you like to define an ideal engineer manager coming out of your workshop, coming out of your drill over there?
Right. So there are so many. One of our recent graduates started his own company in the online space, in the e-commerce space. Now this guy was a hardcore engineer. He's a computer science engineer, 5-6 years of hardcore programming, and actually only thought programming. Now what happened was when he went through our program, his mind was opened up to so many things, and he realized, like, if you ask many engineers today and say, what does it take to open an e-commerce venture? They think of Flipkart, Snapdeal, Myntra, and all these companies. And many of them still think it's really about making a website. What's the big deal? I'll just make a website. And that's what they start doing, if they were doing this business. But I think as they broaden their perspective, they understand how important marketing is, how do you acquire customers, how does the money flow. And I think this guy, for example, did really well by rounding himself off and has become a very successful entrepreneur in the last couple of years.
But there's a normal criticism of the Indian education system, like because of the parental support, students keep on studying and expanding their comfort zone. What is your opinion, like after a 4-year B.Tech program? Like in the West, there is a general paradigm like you go and have some work experience. In your case, what kind of students would you be admitting in your program? Should they be having some work experience, or you have some strategic synergies where you can give them that exposure in the program itself?
Right. I think, certainly any business school, if you ask them, right, they would prefer students with a little bit, especially management schools, they would prefer students with a little bit experience. 3 or 4 is ideal, 1 or 2 is good. But our market reality is not that. Like you said, because of parental pressure or for cultural reasons, big part of the market is that people want to do it all in one go. And there are certain advantages to it as well. Your opportunity cost is lower. Not everybody gets a job after graduation. So I think market realities dictate that you have to have a program for entry level engineers, and hence I think we will we are targeting that market very much. But at the same time, the way the program is designed, I mean, if you see our program, we're offering an internship before even joining the program. And I think because we just think that's so critical, so a big part of the program will be to give them real life experience so that when they come out, they are completely ready and they're not operating in a vacuum where they don't know what's going on.
How do you propose to push through this paradigm shift in management education in the country? We have a huge infrastructure devoted to management education, but the students, like the engineering ones, they are not really doing very well. So how do you propose to expand your paradigm?
I think there are 2 or 3 major things in which you have to do, to expand the paradigm. First is, look, I come completely from industry. I think as a school, if you look at our management, if you look at our faculty, we're all coming from industry and from the knowledge economy. So I have a deep understanding of industry needs, what needs to be taught, what is not as useful, what is more useful. So I think first thing is the curriculum design itself. How do you bake in things in the curriculum that are more appropriate for the industry? Number 2 is the way you teach it, right? So the problem-based learning makes it a contextual education that you learn things in real life and you retain with them. Third, I would say also real use of technology. I think we are born and brought up in the technology world, and everybody, today people don't buy tickets before seeing movie reviews, online and stuff like that. So I think, we have a major, we are very technocentric. We use technology heavily for collaboration, between students and faculty, industry. We recently had like a Facebook product manager talking to our students, and that would never be possible because this guy can't fly down, for taking a 1-hour session. That's just impossible. But you can do that over Skype, you can do that over technology. So we can make all that possible for students, which just gives them exposure of a very different level, which was not possible earlier. So I would say these are the 2-3 things, which are really helping us change the paradigm.
Last but not the least, after having spent such a sizable portion of your career in the industry, what has driven you to education, which is still an unorganized and still a charity based or a empowerment based space? What drives you to the entire?
Look, I think again, as I feel that if the industry has to become more, India is predominantly a service industry, right? And if the industry has to become more productive, it is very much dependent on the quality of the people that it has. And unless we all get together to improve that quality of people, get them more perspective, even it's all part of the same supply chain, right? What has happened over the last few years is that education has become more and more expensive. Like if you look at a normal MBA course, even those are like 6-7 lakh or, and all, and the quality has become more and more under question. So they're making the whole supply chain, more expensive and less efficient. So I think if you can really improve that supply chain in the first place, it can have a, rebound effect on the entire industry and help the entire nation and help the industry. I think that's what really motivated me to get in, and I think we're seeing some great results.
On the lighter side of it, like there's a remark that Indian regulatory regime has a big decelerating effect. So what all challenges on the regulatory and accreditation fronts you are facing, and how are you surpassing them in carrying forward your initiative?
So I think the regulatory regime is what it is. I think you have to work with it. I think they have certain positive points, they have certain negative points. I think we have to be, as a part of the system, we have to advocate for improving the parts which are not so good and are all the parts that are good. So I mean, we have to stick to that, but at the same time, I think it does provide you flexibility. No regulatory regime says don't do well for the students. Essentially, if you look at an intent, they want you to teach well, they want you to have faculty, they want you to have infrastructure. At the end of the day, they want that the student should do well, study well, get a good job. So as long as I think you're aligned at an intent level, you work with it and you basically augment it with other forms of learning.
How do you envisage that this management education initiative will have an impact on the employability factor, which is a big issue amongst the engineering graduates fresh coming out of colleges? How will your initiative impact the employability paradigm?
See, we are really industry centric, and I think we would be really failing in our duty if we said that we are only teaching you well, but we are not doing placements and we're not doing jobs. I feel placement is more than just placement. It's also a test for ourselves whether our program is working. Are we being able to teach the right skills to people? And I think so that is really, really critical to us. So for our MBA program, it's really critical that we do well in our placements. Our students get into the right jobs, and they do well. So I think that's what we're doing. I certainly think that students who go through our program for a couple of years, 2 years is a lot of time. Sometimes I think, 2 years, it's huge amount of time. I think if you spend with students and genuinely try to teach them, I think you can teach them pretty much any skill. I think it's not rocket science. I think at the end of the day, management is actually simpler than a lot of engineering disciplines. So if you just stay with simple things, teach them well, I think there is employability will definitely improve. And I don't think there's any skills that they will lack in those couple of years.
Since you advocate for the engineering management program, do you somewhere see down the line juxtaposing this management education with the ongoing 4-year BTech program, expanding it for a year or a half and giving some of the primers over there?
It's a thought. I think we have to take it step by step. I think we are still relatively new as a school, and we've just getting into this. We're only 3 years old, so I think we have to take it step by step. It's hard to sort of envision the future. We have to see how it goes, how the program is taken. I think there are both advantages and disadvantages of that. We'll have to consider that at the right time, but not at the moment at least.
You've been an expert in scaling up your business, an operations expert, what you did at Global Logic. How do you intend to scale up the entire management initiative of yours?
The challenges to scalability are really only 2 or 3, right? First is availability of great manpower, availability of great managers. And the nature of our business is such that we're producing great manpower ourselves, so I think we are definitely going to be a big consumers of our own manpower. The other thing, what I repeatedly see in the industry, like myself, there are many industry people who want to be attached with academia because they see the same challenges. Many people want to teach. I mean, I can tell you so many people have reached out to over the last 3 years and asked them to take some classes, and very rarely has somebody said no. Sometimes you may not be able to schedule it. There might be logistics challenges, but everybody is happily, accepting to teach and give back to the society and stuff like that. So I think manpower is not a challenge. I think use of technology makes us more scalable. We can bring in more consistency, we can bring in more quality. And thirdly, we are partnering with campuses, right? So we're asset light that way. So we can scale it to multiple campuses over a period of time. So I think it is inherently very scalable, which is important for a large country like ours. If we did something great for 100 students, it will still only be 100 students, and we have a large student community and a large country that we need to cater to.
We would be having a huge pool of over 1 million engineers graduating this year. What three messages you would like to give to them so that they can explore that they have a potential manager in them? What are the 3 key facets which you will like them to explore in themselves to explore a career in management?
I think management is very simple and it's fun, according to me. Sometimes we package it into jargons, and it becomes complex. My advice to the students would really be, more than anything else, to open up. So I would say my 3 would be, listen more, meet more, and read more. So listen to the stuff that is happening around you, become more aware of your surroundings, read more, read some business books, talk to people, find people. There will be people in your family, extended family, friend network who can help you. Talk to them, find out what's going on. So I think just if you can increase your level of awareness, I think you will be a much better manager and more opportunities will automatically open up for you.
I think so. This was Mr. Rajul Garg, who has been championing the cause of management education amongst the engineering graduates. We can simply see the kind of honesty, the kind of confidence, and the kind of commitment which he has got to make a transformation in the entire educational landscape of the country, not deterred by the regulatory speed breakers and the challenges which India has to offer over there. Engineer managers certainly have a great future to prove their academic might in the professional world. We would be back again with yet another interesting personality in our engineering manager series. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. It was great.